Welcome, everybody, back to the Friar Talk podcast. I am back from vacation just for this episode, though. I'm going to miss next weekend's episode, but it's just going to be me and Isaac today, and we're going to be recapping the Dodgers series. So really fun stuff if you're a Padres fan. Got to see, I think it was the first sweep since 2013 against the Dodgers. I saw excellent pitching performance from tonight from Joe Musgrove. A hell of a game from Manny Machado tonight, hence the title of why Manny's just been great against the Dodgers and why tonight he was fantastic. But I'll let you start out, Isaac. You went to Monday night's game. What was the atmosphere like, and how did you enjoy yourself?
That was, and I mean, obviously the Padres haven't been good in a really long time, but that was the most fun I've ever had at a baseball game. The atmosphere was electric. To whoever was there, I hope you thought it was as good a game as I did. I mean, I would have preferred a thriller, but spanking the Dodgers is just as good as a thriller. Take that any day of the week. But those two home runs from Machado and Cronenworth, the crowd was electric. It was roaring. It was, it just felt like playoff baseball. Like I never got to experience it at the ballpark, but it's just the way it felt. Just an amazing game to be at. It was a really fun experience for me and my friends. But just regarding the series, one of the best series the Padres have played this year, most definitely. I think they just carried their momentum over from that Red Series and, how great of baseball they were playing over to this series. Pitching all around was great. Blake Snell had an amazing outing. I know he only threw 5, but he did throw 5 shutout innings. Yu Darvish had 11 Ks, threw 6, only allowed 1, to Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts, one of the best players in baseball, is what it is. And Joe Musgrove, we were talking about it in the preview, how the Dodgers gave Trevor Bauer $40 million to, be their ace. And we traded what I said, a bag of chips for Joe Musgrove. Joe Musgrove goes out there, throws 6, only allows 1 earned. Trevor Bauer goes out there, throws 6, allows 3 bombs. So, just a really good thing to see from our pitchers. And obviously our lineup was just amazing. Manny Machado played the best defense I've ever seen from a third baseman. And I've gotten to see Nolan Arenado kind of a lot. But amazing series from this team. Really excited to, see what the future has. It definitely feels like that whole 2-9 hiatus is like months ago, just because this is just some really good baseball from the Padres.
Yeah, and that's something that we've seen a lot from the Padres, where they're just able to really flip the switch, and they get swept by the Rockies. Their response is to win 7 straight, and hopefully they continue that win streak against the Diamondbacks this next series, and we'll have a preview for that out later today or tomorrow. But looking at this series, I think my favorite part is that you see contributions from like all over the team. You see Ha-seong Kim come in, have a pinch hit home run. That home run ended up being the factor in that game, where Clayton Kershaw was probably the Dodgers' best overall pitcher this series. He allowed what? Did he also allow 3 solo shots? So him and Bauer had a very similar stat line. Urias definitely struggled a bit, but the Padres were able to win with the long ball. We were also talking about that a lot early on, that just hasn't been the case early on. Maybe it's a little bit because, it's heating up. It's getting to the later part of the summer. I know we talked about that early on in the year, that it might take the Padres a little bit while to get going, especially at home. But now you have a full capacity. You got Isaac and his buddies in the stands cheering on the Padres. Well, some of them cheering on the Padres, some of them cheering on the Dodgers. But you got, a lot of energy. Tonight, we saw Victor Caratini hit a bomb that ended up making Trevor Bauer pretty much come out of the game. I know he pitched to Profar after, but kind of ended his night. And he was doing really well, because up to that point, he was kind of dominating the Padres lineup. He did have, I think it was the bottom of the 4th when Joe Musgrove ended up coming up and Trent Grisham hit the double, and then they walked Will Myers and everything. But overall, he looked really good besides the 1st inning and then the 7th inning where he didn't record an out. But you see a lot of long balls throughout this series. So my favorite part was that you saw excellent pitching. You saw a bullpen that is kind of shorthanded right now. You see Nabil Crismatt come in, have a good game. You see Mason Thompson make his debut, and he's a little bit all over the place, but you still see the chance that of what he could become if he can kind of figure out his control on that fastball, because he's kind of bouncing around. But you're getting contributions from all over the place. Mark Melancon, I don't know if he's really been on how he was early on in the year. He'd been struggling a little bit, but then who helps him out? Manny Machado tonight. Like you see the fielding, you see guys really helping him out. You saw Will Myers on Tuesday where he made that great catch in the outfield. So I think overall you look at this team and they're looking really good right now. And like I said, they flipped the switch so quickly. So let's hope they keep riding this momentum into the All-Star break because the schedule's starting to get light, and I think they have a great opportunity moving forward to kind of maybe even take a hold of the NL West before this All-Star break.
This team is, I think one of the most important aspects and what the Padres players were even talking about was that Petco Park was at full capacity finally. We brought the energy, we brought the electricity to the park, and we showed out, and the players showed out just because we were bringing that energy, and they loved it. You could tell they were feeding off of it. 7 straight at home, where a couple comeback wins here and there. A bunch of bombs that we've seen, great pitching, great base running, great fielding, everything has come together right now for the Padres in this win streak. And even when Tatis did not have a great series, and this team was still able to put up a lot of runs. And it's like Tatis entered Jake Cronenworth's body for this series, because Jake Cronenworth was on one this series. He played absolutely fantastic. And we're going to talk about Jake Cronenworth later, but this whole team is just coming on right now, and they're coming up at a really good time. The Giants' schedule is looking like it's going to start getting really tough, and the Padres' schedule is going to start getting pretty easy. We still have a couple home games left, but then we're going to go on a 7-game road trip, and the Padres do tend to struggle a little bit on the road, but this is kind of showing that they're gonna be okay. And that whole hiatus where we did have a little bit of a struggle earlier in the season, it was a fluke. Let's be real. I mean, this is a really talented team. They beat the Dodgers, and you could say, oh, the Dodgers weren't healthy, but don't cut them any slack. Like, come on, they didn't really cut us any slack when we were missing Clevenger and Lamet. So they could say what they want. This team is for real. Other than that first series, we're 7-3 against them all year. Ever since they won that, ever since that first series, they've only beat us one time. We've handled them pretty easily, and this team's on the upswing, and this team's looking like it's going to be a really, 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 tough team come October.
Yeah, so I guess my question for you is, there's a lot of hot bats on the Padres. I know you said that Tatis kind of struggled in this series, and I actually was thinking that to myself. I want to say it was during the Tuesday game, and then they showed a graphic of Tatis's last 10 games, and he had like a 1,200 OPS, and he was hitting like 360. So like, yeah, so much for me thinking that he's slumping. No, he just had a couple off days. That just shows how great he's been this year. But Tommy Pham, that's a guy that has absolutely turned it around. Didn't have a stellar series, or wasn't like a massive contributor. I'm not concerned about him. I think we've kind of seen who Tommy Pham really is at this point. Guy that gets on base, and he has been a tremendous leadoff hitter. I think that's a guy that me and you were definitely both off on and really started to doubt a little bit, and he's completely turned it around. But in terms of this series, who would you say was the MVP of this series? Because I think there's 2 bats that were really, really hot, but who would you say that was the MVP of this Padres-Dodgers series?
Oh, man, it's tough because, I think everyone would give it to Jake Cronenworth. He played amazing. He just, 3 straight games, 3 home runs. I mean, the guy was on, bringing in a bunch of runs, getting on a ton, and he was bringing the electricity to Petco Park. You could definitely make an argument for Manny because of the amazing defense, the clutch moments, the bomb on Monday. You can absolutely make an argument for Manny Machado. He played an absolutely stellar series, and he really saved us in this game with his stellar performance on defense. But I would have to give to Jake Cronenworth. I wish I could give a co-MVP, which is more accurate, because it just shows I think we were carried by Jake and Manny, and just an overall amazing series for both of them. Very happy to see, because Manny was struggling throughout the year, but we know when Manny gets hot, Manny is one of the best players in baseball. And Jake is kind of showing how he's kind of an underrated star in this league. He's not even really being considered for the All-Star game, which we absolutely think is ridiculous, because he's putting up some really good numbers, and he's showing why he shouldn't have been traded in the offseason, why he is an everyday second baseman, why, when Kim was brought to this team, people were probably having some questions, what's going to happen to Jake? Well, those questions are gone. Jake is our everyday starter at second base, and that's how it's going to look for the future.
And also, talking about Kim's been great as well. He's hitting over 360 since the start of June. So not to say anything bad about him. He's been an excellent utility player. When we saw Manny and Tatis out, he was able to fill into those roles. But I think you're spot on. Jake is a guy that people talked about moving him. We didn't really understand the point of that. Like, he's a guy that's cheap, under contract, under a lot of team control. Like, it doesn't really make any sense to move on from him. And he has absolutely proved to everyone that he's not only a Gold Glove caliber second baseman, because he truly does play Gold Glove caliber defense, but he's also a guy that gets on base consistently. And now he's starting to get some power too. He has 11 bombs this year in 3 consecutive games with home runs. Maybe little Petco Porch is gonna have a nickname for Jake because he loves to hit him over there. So hopefully that's something that's gonna come around. But I think this was an amazing series for the Padres. I don't think. I mean, we're super excited, and I think all of Friar Faithful right now is super stoked. So, props to Darvish, Snell, and Musgrove for coming out there and having great outings, and also for the Padres to just hitting bomb after bomb this series because they looked really, really good. And we saw Jake Cronenworth and Manny Machado really take control of the series, and it led to this sweep. And now the Padres are 4.5 games back from the Giants and half a game out of second place. So. And just at the time, too, where their schedule's starting to lighten up a little bit and they can really start riding a hot streak in this All-Star break. So I think that's going to do it for this recap, but amazing series, and I am very, very excited for the next few series for the San Diego Padres.